you're watching this right now and you're thinking, I still have money left, I can't stop gambling yet, this video is for you. Because this is actually one of the most dangerous points during a gambling addiction. Not the point that you're completely broke, not when everything has already fallen apart, because the consequences are pretty obvious at that point, but right here, when you still have money, when you still have access, and you still feel like you have the time to turn it around with one big win. This is where a lot of people convince themselves to keep gambling. They tell themselves that they'll stop after you lose a certain amount. I'll stop when I get back to even. I'll stop after one more session. And what ends up happening is that one more turns into weeks, months, sometimes years of one mores. Because the truth is, if you plan to stop gambling later, you're not actually planning to stop. You're just giving yourself a justification to continue gambling until something forces you to stop. And, let's be clear. Waiting until you hit rock bottom is not a good strategy. It's what happens when there is no strategy. The reason this stage is so dangerous is because your brain is still holding on to hope that you can turn it around with more gambling. You haven't fully felt the consequences yet, so part of you believes that you can still win your way out of it, that you can manage it, that you're in control. But if you're watching this video right now, something in you already knows that that's not actually true. Because if you were in control, you wouldn't be here looking for a way out. So let's talk about what to actually do right now while you still have money left. Because this is your window. This is the moment where you can prevent things from getting significantly worse. The first thing you need to do is separate yourself from access. Not mentally, but physically. Because willpower is not enough when it comes to gambling. You can be completely committed to quitting gambling in the morning, and by the afternoon, one urge can completely override that decision. That's how this works. So, you need to create distance between you and the ability to gamble. That might mean self-excluding from casinos. It might mean deleting apps, blocking websites, or installing software that actually prevents you from accessing gambling platforms. It might mean putting barriers between you and your money, like lowering withdrawal limits, giving a trusted person temporary control, or moving your money into accounts that are either harder to access or have some kind of oversight. And I know that part feels uncomfortable because there's this voice right now in your head saying, what if I need that money? What if I can actually control it? But you have to understand something. That voice is the same voice that keeps pulling you back. It's not trying to protect you. It's trying to keep the option open. And as long as gambling is an option, it will remain a risk. The second thing you need to do is stop negotiating with yourself, because this is what keeps people stuck. You say things like, I'll just play smaller, I'll only gamble on the weekends, I'll only use this amount, then I'll stop. But if you've already reached the point where you're questioning whether or not your gambling is a problem, these rules don't hold anymore. They break. And when they break, you feel even worse. Because now it's not just the losses, it's the guilt of breaking your own promises, your word to yourself. So instead of creating more rules, you need to make one decision. I'm not gambling today. Not later, not tonight, not after work, just not today. Because trying to commit to forever can feel overwhelming, but committing to one day at a time is actually something that you can do. The third thing you need to do is understand what's driving you to gamble in the first place, because it's rarely just about the money. For a lot of people, gambling is filling some void in their life. It's giving you an escape from stress, from boredom, anxiety, the things that you don't want to deal with. And when you remove gambling, those things don't just disappear. They're still there. So if you don't replace it with something else, your brain is going to keep pulling you back to it because that's your new default setting. That doesn't mean that you need to completely reinvent your life overnight. It just means that you need to start small. Go out for a walk, get out of the environment where you've been thinking about gambling all the time. Call someone. Put yourself in a place where gambling isn't the easiest option, because if you stay in the same routine, in the same space, doing these same things, your brain is just going to keep defaulting back to what it already knows. The fourth thing, and this is a big one, is that you need to accept that the money you've already lost is gone. Because as long as you're thinking about getting it back, you're still tied to gambling. That thought alone will pull you back in. It creates this feeling that you have some unfinished business, that you just need one more chance to fix it. But gambling doesn't fix losses, it just extends them, it makes them worse. And every time you go back trying to recover what you lost, you're putting yourself back into the same position, but a worse way. And over time, it only gets worse, not smaller. So whatever the number is, whether it's a few $100s or life-changing amounts of money that you've lost, the only way that it doesn't get worse is by stepping away. And finally, you need to tell someone what's going on. And I know that's the part that people avoid the most, because there's shame, there's embarrassment, there's fear of being judged or upsetting the ones that we love, but keeping this to yourself is what allows it to continue. Secrecy is where gambling problems grow. You don't have to tell everyone. You don't have to have the perfect explanation. But telling one person the truth about what's going on can change everything. And we actually made a video here on the channel diving into exactly how to do just that. So check that one out next. Let's keep getting better together, one day at a time.